What's up, friends? Welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren LeDuc, and I am a yoga teacher, yoga studio owner, wellness and fitness junkie. I've had a few students and Instagram followers ask me for advice in eating less meat, and I'm not a nutritionist, and I don't really feel comfortable giving nutrition advice, so I'm recruiting today my friend Lacy Stephens, who is one of the smartest people that I know. Lacy is a registered dietitian nutritionist. She is the senior program manager at the National Farm to School Network, and she's currently getting her second master's at Johns Hopkins, where she is a fellow. So I thought she would be an amazing person to ask not only about dietary needs for someone who's maybe going vegetarian or some sort of vegetarian, but for environmental impact, emotional health, and all the other factors that go into it that we don't always think about. So please enjoy our interview. Welcome, Lacy. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. So Lacy is one of my really good friends. We've been friends for a very long time, since we were 9 years old, and we actually went vegetarian around the same time too. So she's the perfect person to talk to about this today. And Lacy, if you'd introduce yourself.
My name is Lacy Stephens. I currently in my day job, I work for an organization called the National Farm to School Network. So we work on building healthy local community food systems by connecting schools and early care and education sites with local producers. So I'm a registered dietitian and I have a master's degree in sustainable food systems. I'm also right now a fellow with the Bloomberg American Health Initiative through Johns Hopkins University, working on a master's of public health.
Thanks, Lacy. Very impressive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Will you talk a little bit about maybe your journey with food, and in particular being vegetarian of some sort for an extended period of time, for decades now?
So, I think for most people, my journey with food has been complicated. I've been a vegetarian since the age of 10, and I became a vegetarian because my favorite animals were cows. And so I think even as a kid, I kind of recognized this ethical dilemma of feeling really connected and adoring of an animal, but also this conflict of having it on my plate and kind of questioning this. How could this be normal that we're eating these animals that I felt so connected with? So my vegetarian eating really started with that kind of ethical question and that feeling that it just didn't sit right with me. And throughout my life, that has been one consistent in my diet and in my food choices is being vegetarian. And through my work as a dietitian, as I learned about food, as well as looking at food systems and looking at environmental impact, that's really only been more confirmed. My choices have only felt stronger. I think that as I mentioned, my relationship with food has been complicated over the many years. I've dealt with many years of eating disorders and had not a great relationship with food. But I think, for me, being grounded in food that connects with my values, which vegetarianism really does, really helps me kind of make decisions that I can feel good about, and helps really enhance my relationship with food, knowing that I can make choices that are really not just about myself, but go beyond my individual choices and connect with my values.
So what would you say the benefits are for people to switch to a more plant-based diet, meaning less meat, more plants, not only in a personal way, but environmentally, as you mentioned?
So I think, obviously one of the biggest benefits is long-term health benefits. And I think, regardless of what may sometimes seem like conflicting information that we get about nutrition or confusing information that we get about nutrition, we really consistently know and have known for a long time that a diet that is based in plant-based foods, a minimally processed plant-based food in particular, and then has a variety of different types of foods and fruits and vegetables and whole grains and different types of plant-based proteins, really is protective for long-term health. health. It's protective against cancer, protective against cardiovascular disease, incredible for digestive health, protective against diabetes, all of these chronic diseases that we're seeing increase over time. A plant-based diet can be really helpful in preventing those and creating long-term benefits in health. So, that's a major motivation for a lot of people. And on the environmental side, and it's really exciting for me to see an increased interest in this as a motivation and more people really recognizing the opportunity to make an impact in the environment through their food choices. I think moving to a plant-based diet and minimizing animal products in your diet is one of the biggest individual things that a person can do to minimize their carbon footprint and make a difference in how they're impacting the environment. And so, maybe making those choices and minimizing the amount of animal products, you're really minimizing the greenhouse gases that you're creating and contributing to. You can really make a difference in the way that you're impacting the environment by those individual choices.
Great. Thank you so much. What about like social and political impact? Is that something you can speak to?
Yeah, I think, one of the most important things I think to think about when you are making choices about food is the big picture impacts. And you can't really know that unless you know where your food is coming from. I think our industrialized animal production are both severely impactful on the environment when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, when it comes to pollution, when it comes to impacts on our water systems. And they're also really destructive in the ways that they treat people oftentimes as well. I think workers can be face a lot of adversity within those industrialized animal feeding operations. So if we're thinking about those implications to humanity, we have to be thinking about food production workers as well. Not to say there aren't issues with worker treatment within other types of food production, but I think within our industrialized animal feeding operations, I think that is definitely a huge consideration. So I think there are definitely broad impacts when we're thinking about food choices, and I'm thinking about sources of our food, which is vital in any kind of food that we're eating. But in an animal production, they're, I think, compoundedly problematic.
Great, thank you. What do you think are some of the common reasons that people have a difficult time moving to this sort of lifestyle?
I think, like anything else, I think habit is the biggest barrier. If you've spent your whole life incorporating animal-based products into every meal, then it can be really hard to envision a diet and a life, without that. But like all other habits, I think that making those small changes can make a big difference. Whether it's Meatless Monday, which is a huge, massive national campaign, or whether it's, choosing one meal a day that you can incorporate a plant-based protein product instead of an animal-based protein product. Changing those habits can take small steps that can really build into a lifelong transition, into a lifelong way of eating. I think that, other challenges can be kind of social or cultural. If you have, for Lauren and I, who became vegetarians in the Midwest in Missouri 25 years ago, it was a very different culture and much less accepting. And, I think a diversity of vegetarian foods were much less accessible. But I think now we're really seeing a shift that, in almost every restaurant you go to, even barbecue restaurants have a portobello mushroom on the menu. So I think that just being aware of the amount of diversity of foods out there for a vegetarian diet can really help minimize that kind of fear that isn't culturally acceptable. And to that point as well, I think that a big challenge is people feel like they focus on what they're giving up or feel like they're sacrificing something. But I think, again, being aware of this huge diversity of foods that fit within a plant-based diet and being able to explore maybe these new types of grains, these new types of proteins, these vegetables maybe you've never heard of. And so opening up to this huge diversity of options versus focusing on what you might be taking out of your diet. So I think that, and also coming at it from not a extreme approach. So not thinking that, okay, I'm never going to eat meat again. Because maybe that's not the choice you're ready to make, but maybe looking at it, instead of having this family favorite dish that is meat-based, once a week, we'll have it once a month. So not feeling like you have to give up everything forever, but that just taking these small steps can really minimize environmental impact and improve your health, and moving to that plant-based diet over time and taking small steps to change habits.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know we have a friend whose family has been trying to eat less meat because of the environmental impact. And something they've done is just really substitute a few items in dishes that they already make on the regular. So they found like beef crumbles, for instance, that they really like from Trader Joe's, and they have substituted that into their favorite recipes. So sometimes it's just small little switches. And I know that they had to try out a few different brands and kinds too to find one that was suitable for them and that felt like they weren't missing out.
Yeah, and I think that willingness to experiment is really important. Making sure you're buying small amounts of things to try to avoid waste, but also, maybe trying a new product and cooking it several different ways. So being willing to kind of experiment and look at it as kind of a fun thing to experiment with and not a trial can be really helpful too. And finding all of those different, and it's an exciting time to be vegetarian. There are so many options in the grocery store. There are so many ways to incorporate different protein replacement options. It's really easy to look at it more as including more and diverse foods into your diet versus taking away and limiting.
So when I threw this topic out to my Instagram followers, the biggest question that I had for you, or that they had for you, was, how do I get enough protein in my diet? And what are different vegetarian protein sources besides tofu?
Tofu is great, but yeah, we don't want to eat it every day for every meal. And I think when it comes to protein, it's obviously a vital nutrient to have in our diet. But I think people don't necessarily need as much protein as maybe we've been programmed to believe. Most of us are getting plenty of protein in our diet. And if you're thinking about incorporating protein to each of your meals every day, then you'll be getting plenty of protein. When it comes to a plant-based diet, the important thing is to be sure that you're getting a diversity of protein sources. So then that means that you're going to get all the essential amino acids that are the building blocks of protein in our diet, in our bodies. So we have to have a diversity of types of vegetable and plant-based proteins to get all of those different building blocks. So tofu's great. Soy-based proteins are great. My favorite go-tos are beans and lentils, because there are so many types of beans and lentils out there. They can fit into all different types of meals in really easy ways. Making some black bean enchiladas or tacos, and they're a great replacement option that are really easy to fix for a huge variety of different meals. When it comes to snacks, it's great to have an opportunity to incorporate additional protein into your snacks as well. So whether that's through hummus or a little bit of peanut butter or nut butter on fruit, finding ways to incorporate some additional protein into those snack times as well. So I would just emphasize that opportunity to get the diversity of proteins in those many different ways.
Yeah, and not to mention beans and lentils and legumes are cheap.
They're things you can keep in your pantry. They're easy to pull out in a pinch and really quickly for meals too.
I'll also say I actually really love tofu. And when it comes to tofu, there's a variety of types, and you have to learn how to, just like anything else, prepare it properly to truly enjoy it. So
yeah, exactly. It can take some practice, but once you get your routine down, it's a great plug into meals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of have a rotation of baked tofu going on throughout the week for meal prep, and I love it. It's super easy. But yeah, that with a variety of sources. Would you say that for people of a particular activity level that they should supplement the protein with like protein powder?
I think if you're very active, you definitely want to make sure you're getting sufficient protein. And that can mean eating a lot of small meals throughout the day, ensuring that there's a protein source within each of those. And that can definitely include some supplements via smoothies, or, mixing into your oatmeal some additional protein supplements. To make sure that you're hitting that mark if you are particularly active. And also, I think if you are particularly active, ensuring that you're getting sufficient fats as well, getting high quality, healthy fats is also going to make sure that you are getting everything you need to support all of that activity.
Great. Yeah. I'll also say about the protein powders that there are a huge variety of plant-based protein powders out there, and they are not all equal when it comes to taste. So I think trying a variety can be really helpful. I'm super active, so I do supplement with protein powders. And yeah, there's been a few I've hated, and I've kind of found my rotation that I enjoy. But I know I can't rely on it completely.
And the diversity of options on the market is really great now, the different flavors and the different sources. You can find the great organic products. So it's really nice to see kind of beyond just the basic soy protein and the basic whey protein. There's just a new variety on the market that's really, I think, easy to mix in and easy to incorporate if you need that extra punch if you're not getting it from your everyday diet.
Great. Thank you. So beyond maybe having to supplement protein if you're highly active or an athlete, what other supplementation might be necessary for a pescatarian, vegetarian, or vegan diet?
So if you're vegan and not incorporating any animal products, you absolutely want to make sure you have a B12 supplement. That is one nutrient that you your plant-based diet. But again, great B12 supplements on the market, very easy to supplement. For other folks who are limiting animal products, you could, if we all had a perfect diet in a perfect world, we could be getting everything that we need. But to really make sure that you get everything you need, it is a good idea to supplement iron quite often because our bodies absorb plant-based iron a little less efficiently than animal-based iron. So an iron supplement, when you do take your iron supplement, make sure you're taking that with a vitamin C as well, and that'll help improve absorption. A B complex vitamin is really helpful to support metabolism. Again, particularly the B12 if you're focused on a plant-based diet. And then some of the micronutrients might be a little bit low for a primarily plant-based diet. So zinc in particular is one you want to make sure you get a little bit extra of. That's going to be found in all of your multivitamins, and calcium as well, especially for women, ensuring that they're getting sufficient calcium. And with that calcium, you also want to make sure you get the vitamin D, because that's going to help support calcium absorption. And of course, we know that vitamin D is also vital for all of these processes, and for mood stabilization and all kinds of health benefits. So those would be the core nutrients you'd want to make sure that you're supplementing, which and really are great for most people. Most people aren't getting sufficient amounts of calcium, vitamin D, and iron. So those are important ones to incorporate, particularly in a plant-based diet.
Would you say that a high quality multivitamin would incorporate all of these vitamins or micronutrients and that they're okay to all take at the same time?
Yeah, generally they will be the ones that you might want to add additional would be iron. So you'll probably have to have an additional iron supplement. And then an additional calcium, which isn't going to be traditionally found in your multivitamin.
So you talked a little bit about gaining family support and making this lifestyle change. Do you have any advice for people who have very resistant families, especially here in the Midwest? Although there have been a lot of changes over the years, there still are people who are so unfamiliar with this lifestyle and who are so ingrained in the belief that meat is completely necessary for a balanced diet.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times the proof is in the taste. If you can identify like delicious meals that you can share with your family and bring to family events, I think that can be really convincing that you can have this really satisfying, delicious food, whether it's, awesome black bean enchiladas or a delicious soup or, a yummy dip that you can share, if you can show them that these foods can be delicious and filling and hearty, that's a great way to show people that this can fit into a diet and be delicious and isn't when I was a kid, my grandpa would say rabbit food. So I think that that's a great way to get people on board. If it's family that you eat with a lot, I think incorporating them into the meal planning, into the experimenting, into the cooking, giving them the opportunity to see the process and be a part of the process is a great way to get them on board. And sometimes you just have to let it go too, and know that you're not everyone's going to see the value. But if you can continue to lead by example, and continue to show the benefits in your own life and continue to share, delicious recipes and to share delicious food, I think that's a great way to kind of show people that it can fit into a lifestyle.
Just two more questions. What are some of your favorite plant-based meals or snacks?
Oh my gosh, I could go on for a long time because I love food, particularly plant-based food. So I love, I guess, so for dinner in particular, I love like super hearty meals that I can make for tons of leftovers for, so I can eat all week. So I've got a killer black bean and sweet potato enchilada that I make. That is a crowd favorite. I love hearty soups, lentil soup, black bean soup, and a nice like crusty loaf of bakery bread, and a big salad. It's like my ideal meal. I love toast. And I think toast is such like a versatile platform. I have toast every morning for breakfast. Sometimes it's like peanut butter and fruit. Sometimes it's avocado and hummus with an egg on top. So I feel like a really delicious piece of bread with some uh, nice accompaniments is always a go-to for me. I love Greek yogurt and beautiful fresh fruit. I think any in-season fruit or vegetable with a nice big salad is always a great accompaniment, and put a little hummus on top or some chickpeas, a nice way to add a little extra protein to a nice salad. So yeah, I guess those are some of my go-tos.
I'll add my favorite is like a Nourish bowl or a Buddha bowl because it's so versatile and easy. It's literally a bowl with like fresh veggies, roasted veggies, a protein, a fat, maybe a carb source thrown in too. It's like so interchangeable and always delicious.
And I love those recipes that you can really just you kind of have a go that you can use in your fridge. So like a super solid stir fry recipe, or have some nice whole wheat wraps that you can just throw in whatever veggies you have in your fridge, and a little hummus. So I like to have those kind of nice ideas around a framework. Then you can use whatever's available, whatever's in season, whatever's in your fridge to fill up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think that when you're eating in that way, it kind of busts the myth that eating a more plant-based diet is wildly expensive. Because really, once you have your kitchen stocked with the staples or dry goods that you can use over and over again for a long period of time, it's just a matter of making sure you're stocked up on fresh fruits and veggies, which everyone should be doing anyway. And I find that it's actually less expensive than a meat-heavy diet.
Absolutely. If you're thinking about, just straight protein sources, lentils and beans are super cheap compared to animal proteins. In addition to fresh veggies and fruits, frozen fruits are awesome too. Frozen vegetables are great to be able to incorporate and can be really inexpensive, but also still have the same nutritional value that you can get from fresh. So there are lots of ways to meet a really high quality, healthy diet on a budget as well.
Yeah, I agree. And you can use your fruits and veggies and avoid waste when they start kind of turning in a lot of different ways. You can throw them in the freezer if you need to, or make your own veggie stock. I think there's a lot of ways to avoid waste in this type of diet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, particularly if you're choosing a plant-based diet for the environmental impacts, it's definitely another thing to be cognizant of, is how much you're buying and how you're utilizing all of that.
Great. Thanks, Lacy. Before we go, do you have any last tips or advice?
I think I would say just, I think the best thing about thinking about a plant-based diet is that it can open up a whole new world of taste and flavor and variety. And so we are living in a time, there's more food blogs, there's more recipes online. And so just by starting to explore some of these potential recipes and different potential, plant-based proteins and grains that are out there, it can be a really exciting time to start to explore a plant-based diet. And now when folks are at home and and spending some time in their kitchen is a great time to start experimenting. If you can get a couple of really strong go-to recipes, then you can start to feel like you can be creative and take some steps outside the box once you do a little experimenting and get some solid basic skills down too.
Yeah, I agree too. And once you do get those down and you start experiencing eating more of these plant-based meals on a day-to-day basis, I think people might be surprised at how good they feel. There's something like immediately and intensely energizing, I think, about whole foods, plant-based meals.
I think, obviously there are a lot of long-term health benefits, but even more immediate benefits. Like it does great things for your digestion. You are providing that kind of immediate benefit to get the energy that you need in a way that feels good.
Well, thank you so much, Lacy. It was so nice to talk to you today and to get some of your guidance and expertise. I found that interview so enlightening, and I hope that you did too. I love Lacy, and I'm so thankful for her for taking this time to drop some knowledge about going veg. If you want to see more videos on yoga, wellness, fitness, please subscribe to my channel, hit the little notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos each week. Now, perfect time to thrive. Bye!